Hello, everybody. Mitchy by nature here to talk to you about this thing that I read on Instagram from Academy of Ideas again. Academy of Ideas. Look them up. Um, they're on YouTube. This is what the quote says. This side seems to be in the majority, for that is why it is the worst side. Human concerns are not so happily arranged that the majority favors the better things. Evidence of the worst choice is the crowd. So let us inquire what is the best, not what is the most customary thing to do, and what establishes our claim to unending happiness, not what the rabble, the worst of truth's exponents, has set its stamp of approval on. And Seneca wrote that, and Seneca was a philosopher in ancient Greece. He had a really interesting argument for death. You know, when you're alive, you're not dead, because when you're dead, you don't know it. Something like that. Look him up too. He's very worth Seneca, the writings of Seneca. He's a very interesting dude. And so is this. I think it's timely. I think, Academy of Ideas is nothing but timely because they're talking about, they're trying to, they remember I was saying about the finger and the moon? Academy Ideas is a finger. It's pointing at something. And it's been pointing at this for a while. And that's, well, how do you say it? The mob. The mob mentality. Okay? I'm sure you know what it is, but for lack of a, just for trying to, I'll tell you what I think it is, and then you tell me what you think it is. That's what we should do. That's, by the way, the antithesis of the mob. The mob is the I'm right because I'm with somebody who else agrees with me. Cancel culture is the mob. I'm right because they're right and I'm next to them. You know, it's not like bad, right? Nothing I'm saying, when I make what sounds like judgments or critiques about the West, I'm giving you my opinion, and that's it. I'm not saying that I know, because there's always going to be evidence that runs contrary to what I'm saying. I am not right. Mitchy by nature, understand trees, is not right. He's thinking out loud. Thinking is a process, and all thought stops when you're in the mob, because the mob validates itself by its own becoming. And what do I mean by that? It's an energy. Cause like, come on, if you didn't grow up playing sports, I wonder if you grew up at all. But that's a critique of mine, of course. In any sort of like group thing, like you could be in music, band, debate club, and whenever you're in a community, whenever you're in a group, and that group decides something, like maybe the alpha in the group decided it's got to go left, and then all the subordinates that follow the alpha decide that that's right. Imagine how difficult it is to stand up and say, I actually think we should go right. Well, it's exponentially more difficult the more people get involved. And so we invented this thing called politics, right? And politics, whatever misshapen demon of an idea we have now called politics, especially here in Canada, is not freedom of speech. It's not debate over very intelligent and well thought out ideas. It's not community. It's I'm right because I'm standing next to this liberal and he's a liberal, so I'm right. Or I'm standing next to a conservative and he's right. I'm a conservative, therefore I'm right. How does that make any fucking sense? That makes no sense. You're both wrong. Everybody's wrong. Almost all the time. I can't believe the fucking world exists. If you stop and think about how many things could go wrong at any time and they don't by miracle. We're just like chugging as a society, as a culture, we're chugging along. It's like, well, why don't we just stop the train, figure out what the fuck is wrong, and then fix it instead of just chugging. Like this is, I mean, like I watched a bit of the debate the other day, the Canadian federal debate, and I'm like, what the fuck? They're just yelling at one another. Shit, if I want to see that, man, I go watch WrestleMania. Like that has more quality because it's entertainment, entertainment. And politics is supposed to be real. It's supposed to be really important, right? but it's not. It's not. Because how am I supposed to, as a civilian of this society, look up to people like Trudeau and Toole and think like, wow, I respect them if they just fucking yell at one another, or they just play the game, like look the part. Now Trudeau's all clean shaven, he doesn't look all disheveled because of the pandemic, and he's fixing all of our problems, right? Yeah, great. And Aaron O'Toole, or whatever, he just looks like he's never gotten up out of, even though I think he was a soldier at one point, which is pretty cool, he just looks too clean. I'm gonna be a bit hyperbolic here, but the presentation of yourself to the world really does lend itself. I know what I look like. I'm putting on an air of I don't care. And I don't. Because I don't care about the game. I want to talk about the truth. And the truth doesn't care about the game. The truth has nothing to do with the game. Was invented because people can't handle the truth. If you go and actively seek the truth, you stop playing the game. You stop caring about the game. You start laughing at this game that humans get so caught up in. And I don't want this to come across as like I'm right, because like I said, I'm not right. I'm thinking out loud, and I'm offering you an opportunity to think out loud too. The more people think out loud, the better. It might actually end up nothing changes, because we actually all agree that this is the way we want the world to work. If I got everybody together, like every single human being I could possibly get together, come to Hyde Park and fucking sit down under a tree and talk to this hippie about the future. What do you want out of the future? And you're like, actually, I'm okay with everything that's going on. Well, then stop complaining. I mean, I'm talking to the people. It's ironic because I'm kind of complaining right now, but like I'm making a video and putting it online to encourage people to get into contact with me so we can have conversations. So it's not like I'm just sitting at home and talking on the kitchen table about how much I hate the way the government works. Because I don't hate the government. Because I don't hate humanity. I don't hate anything. I'm sad. I'm very sad. As a coach, as a trainer, nothing was more heartbreaking than wasted potential. So the responsibility, our word responsibility, by the way, if you've ever thought about if you inflect it differently, it's response-ability. That's literally how it's spelled. So if you look up responsibility, you'll see response-ability, your ability to respond. Okay? What does that mean? That means not playing a game. That means dutifully acting in the world. That means responding to the world. You might have ideas about what you want, where you want to go, and by all means, go for them. But if that's all you do, and then when things don't go your way, you blame the world, that's when shit starts to get mob. Because the mob is nothing more, and what do I mean by mob? Any group. Okay, so like even just today, there were people who were protesting mandatory vaccinations out front of hospitals, and there's really strong arguments for and against both of those. I believe that anybody is allowed to protest, but I also don't feel comfortable with them doing it in front of the hospital because of it just is so flagrant. It's like there is a virus as far as we know, right? Like I trust modern science that far, but I don't believe that the government should force you to do anything ever. Period. Because it undermines the individual's developmental trajectory. It's like, if you never learned how to eat, like if you were fed your whole life and one day the structure, the feeding mechanism disappears, like you'll die. So like your dependency is a very don't get me wrong, we need to work together, but dependency, the government will keep me safe, or the government's totally corrupt. Both of those are dependencies. We need to be forthright and honest and not fall into the group, because what does the group want? It just wants catharsis. What does that mean? It just wants release of energy. Think about why we drink, right? Drinking is one of the oldest things that we've done. Drinking releases us. It releases our inhibitions. It allows us to become more curious and what is that called? straight through, right? Like, people, they call it liquid courage, right? It's like, we'll go out, you're out at a bar, right, and you're having a couple drinks, and you're like, yeah, if I was sober, I couldn't go talk to so-and-so because they were too intimidatingly pretty or whatever. But now I'm drunk, so I'm going to go say, hi, how are you? Ha ha, right? Drinking releases us. You get intoxicated, not just by alcohol, but with camaraderie and group mentalities are intoxicating, and they're violent because you dissolve into the group, and your responsibility, your ability to respond, disappears. You just go. You will burn things to the ground. You will blow things up. You will rape, pillage, and steal. That's why we got into groups in the first place, because there's more power in groups. And then you'll be like, yeah, Mitch, this isn't news. Of course, that's why we do it. We've been doing it for years, hundreds of years, thousands of years. We've always been group against group. I'm like, sure. But just because something's old doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's fucking right. We don't need to do the things we used to do. We're not apes anymore. We have I'm talking to you right now. I didn't invent this. I mean, this is amazing that I can talk to you right now, and you don't have to be here. That I can actually share with you my mind and encourage you to share your mind with me, and you don't even have to get up off your ass. You just have to fork over $100 a month or whatever. And then all of a sudden you've got this incredible infrastructure right here. The internet is our best tool and our worst weapon. It's the strongest encouragement of group and cancel culture and echo chamber mentality that we've ever invented, but it's also the only way we can break that. And why do we need to break it? Because if we fall in to partisan politic bullshit and start to finger point and then claim we're right because we're standing next to somebody who agrees with us, it doesn't matter what future we create. That will only ever happen again. So it'll happen to you. And you don't want that to happen to you. Because isn't it fun to be part of the winning team? And isn't it shit when you lose? Right? Like, this doesn't make any more sense to me. We don't need to do that anymore. We have bigger problems to solve. Like COVID. COVID is a transcendent problem. If we could all just get together and figure out how to solve the problem, it would be solved. But we can't, because, so-and-so needs to make such and such money, and such said this about me behind my back, and I'm wearing red, you're wearing blue. I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you because you're wearing blue. Oh my God. I'm being facetious and maybe even a little bit arrogant, so forgive me for that, but come on. Who's gonna do it? Like, we can just pretend that these problems don't exist, like I have done for years, or we can talk about them. Really, that's all we need to do, is just talk about them. It doesn't matter if you and I agree. What matters is that I understand you, and you understand me. If there's understanding, things sort themselves out. We are the scum of the earth because we don't have any idea what's going on, and yet we pretend like it is. We're walking liars, and we need to come to terms with that. If we understood ourselves, if we understood each other, if we actually spent a dedicated amount of time trying to understand our friends, our family, our society, our science. Like, Christ, people are like, I don't believe in vaccines. Well, how much research have you done? And then other people are like, vaccines should be mandatory. It's like, how much research have you done? You're talking out of your ass right now. You're sound biting. Nobody cares about this shit anymore. It doesn't even matter if you agree. Just go and understand it. Both sides, especially the shit you don't want to understand. If everything that you point at and say what's wrong with the world, go there. It's your responsibility. If you don't, the shit won't change, and you'll die anyways. Isn't it amazing how it works? It all equals out in the end, and there's no rush. But really sit with that for a second. You live in this world. You're part of this world. It's your responsibility to be the best version of yourself for this world and for the future, for our kids. Okay? And it doesn't exist in the mob, ever. And partisan politics doesn't work anymore. So we have to get past that. So I encourage you to think out loud. I really do. Thank you so much. Don't litter ever, please. And we'll talk to you later.